Today we are interviewing Dutch-born Tamar Valkenier about her 4-month Mongolian Camel Expedition, plus one dog and a horse. Tamar actually gave up her promising career back in 2015, graduated with A+ as a criminologist as well as a psychologist. She worked as an investigative psychologist for the Dutch National Police. So this woman is qualified. Although she loved her dream job, she really wanted to experience a different reality beyond another horizon. So she built her own bicycle and cycled towards Istanbul without a map. Once she set out, she fell from one adventure into another. She obviously just could not get enough. She lived with jungle tribes, hitchhiked in the Panama, rock climbed in Greece, lived off the land in Australia, and eventually she ended up in Mongolia. She brought a horse, a camel, and got a dog and walked alone in the remote Altai Mountains for 4 months, learning the ancient art of eagle hunting. Have you guys seen the films about that? Amazing. And also about survival techniques. She completed the expedition in 2018, then gained her papers to become an official wilderness guide. This girl's got it all. It's amazing. And then, of course, and naturally, in December of 2018, she set off with Miriam Lancewood, who is the author of Woman in the Wilderness, and who we've personally interviewed here on this podcast. That is back in episode 30. So they headed out on their epic female expedition in New Zealand. They survived for more than 2 months on hunting, fishing, and gathering edible plants. They roamed with heavy backpacks and rifles over 8 mountain passes, well away from trails, people, tracks, anything that's remotely related to civilization, which is amazing. So without further to do and say, you got to tune into this inspiring interview, which for us took our imagination to very wild places, thinking about trekking with camels in Mongolia for ourselves in the Altai Mountains. Right, stay tuned right to the end, as we have a very special announcement for people who might be like us and who love a good adventure, and of course are camel lovers.
Okay, I'll give you a quick rundown of 28 years of my life. Yeah, born and raised in Holland, always lived in Holland, always. First a career as a Michelin star chef, and later as an investigative psychologist. I was working for the police, I was trained by the FBI, I was working on murder and sex offense and terrorism and all that bad stuff. And then at 28, I retired. I wanted to explore the world. I always traveled a lot, but I wanted more. So I built a bicycle and I quit my job and the rent for my house. I gave all my stuff away. And on this bicycle, I started a journey which ended up to become a 12,000 kilometer journey. Oh, wow. So I cycled all through Europe to Istanbul, and I did 1.5 years in Australia. And did a lot of permaculture there as well, living in the bush off-grid. Did one camel trek through the Flinders Ranges, where I was the chef for this camel trek. So cooking everything on open fires in cast iron pots and whatnot. Really cool. So in this time, I was researching where is the wildest nature. And in Mongolia, you've got the Altai Mountains, the oldest mountains in the world. And it's also the least inhabited country in the world. There's only 3 million people in the country, half the size of India. It's humongous. Yeah. And from this 3 million, 1.5 live in the capital. So the rest is all just scattered along these steppes. And they're all living this nomadic lifestyle, which you hardly find left in the world. Mm-hmm. Didn't change much since the heydays of Genghis Khan. Yeah. And then I found out about these eagle hunters. It just kept getting better and better. And these eagle hunters ride their horses with 6 kilos of eagle on their arms, chasing foxes and marmots. Incredible. And yeah, so my thought was, I want to go to Mongolia and I want to be part of all of that. My name is Valkenier, my last name. So I thought I should be getting to this stuff. Okay. And yeah. Then I thought, how am I going to do it? I did lots of tours through Europe on a motorbike. I did lots of hiking. I did lots of cycling. But then I researched Mongolia and thought, well, the only option in Mongolia, of course, is horses. But I didn't know how to ride a horse. Tiny little detail. So I learned how to ride a horse, and I prepared myself, and I came to the Altai Mountains of Mongolia. And there these people said, look, I'll help you find your horses, but you will never find a horse that is suitable for packing and traveling with, because we don't do that. We use camels.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, camels, I've got 1 week experience. Great. But I found this eagle hunting family that was willing to take me with his own camel for training, a week training. And he taught me everything I needed to know, and the traditional way of packing with the wooden sticks and the blankets. Taught me how to divide everything equally, which ropes to use, which nuts to use, what to do overnight, how to hobble them, the whole bamalam. And then after 5 days of training, I thought, I think I'm ready. Super cocky. Very arrogant and cocky. But I bought a camel. And I did a lot of research on what sort of camel I want for traveling. You know, not too old, not too young, good firm humps, healthy, strong. And this guy brings me this camel. He was 20 years old, and one hump was going this way and one hump the other way. And it was absolutely not what I was looking for.
Yeah.
But I thought, you know, if this eagle hunter thinks this is the right camel for me, it's probably the right camel for me. And he was amazing. He was really strong and lovely and gentle. So I set off on 4 months of adventuring, and I just learned more and more on the way. And Sinbad is his name.
So you had a camel. Did you take a horse as well? Yeah,
a horse and a dog.
Of course. How can you not take a dog in Mongolia?
Yeah. I know. How can you not take a dog anywhere?
I love that about places like Mongolia and India. Is this dogs just like acquire you? Yeah. They're like, I'll go with you for a while.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. This dog was running wild, and I spent 3 days searching the neighborhood for his owner, if there was an owner. I couldn't find one. Everybody said, no, it's not my dog. And then I gave him some sausage, and I put a leash around his neck, and I took him for half an hour. And after half an hour, I took the leash off, and I thought, if he has a home and he wants to go home, he can go now. Yeah. But he didn't go, and he stayed with me for 4 months.
There you go. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So, do you have any questions?
Yeah. Okay. So this camel that you had, it was a trained camel.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So the eagle hunter had trained him beforehand, or someone had, and you were just learning some of those skills, and off you went.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's interesting because all the camels there are sort of half wild anyways. They only use them a few times a year when they move house. Yeah. They use them for packing. So the rest of the time they're just roaming free in the mountains, so you can't really call them trained. And the problem there is that they use nose bags to lead them. And I really, really didn't like this. So after a week, I just couldn't deal with it, and I made them halters.
Yes.
So we just let them on the halter. And I think we were probably the only people in the entire Altai Mountains that was leading their camel by the halter. And it was a lot harder to control them, but it was definitely worth it.
Yeah. They definitely, when they're used to being controlled by the nose all the time, they get desensitized. So to go from like the nose to the halter isn't even really strange for the camel. So that's that sort of situation. So you were by yourself?
Yep. I came to Mongolia by myself, but somewhere in this preparation period, I met another girl, Linnea, from America. And for some reason, she had the exact same idea of traveling the Altai Mountains with her own horses. I couldn't believe it. And she had a lot of horse experience, but not a lot of traveling alone and wilderness experience. So I could help her and she could help me. And we started off together. And we thought we'll just help each other get trained, get ready, get our animals. And when we feel comfortable, we split up. But we had such a blast together, and it was really helpful to have someone else also with the camels when we're going through swamps or rivers or over high passes. It's also always helpful to have someone in front and behind.
Yes, yes.
But she left at some point, and I continued for 6 weeks more on my own.
Right.
Wow.
Okay.
That's amazing. Wow. Like, okay, so do you ever get the feeling like, what am I trying to say? So I would say that that's incredibly brave, like doing that by yourself as a woman. Like, if you're a man, it probably doesn't even matter, right? But women, there's a thing with women and all things like that. So were those things going through your head as, like, you know, obviously not with the initial idea, but, you know, as you were doing your journey, were there scary moments?
Yeah. Yeah, this is probably the scariest thing I've ever done, for sure. Yeah, many times I thought, oh, maybe I should stop and go home, but I didn't want to. Yeah, because first of all, it's very, very remote. There's nothing there. There's no hotels. There's no restaurants. There's no police station. There's no one there to help me but the nomads. And in fact, I've traveled through areas where I didn't see anybody for 9 days in a row. You're on your own. So it is dangerous, of course. Especially with animals as well. And yeah, woman alone, I'm not too sure, because I always travel as a woman alone. I've done many big trips also in South Africa and Botswana and Colombia, dangerous countries. But yeah, I've been fine so far, maybe lucky as well. But I think being a woman is my biggest advantage, because everybody thinks, ooh, that's dangerous. We should take care of you. Come, stay with our family. You know, where the men sleep outside in the tent, I get invited in the house.
I love that perspective. That's so true. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because obviously everyone has a different experience when they adventure, and it's really, you know, some are good, some are bad, and some are indifferent and whatever. Like, it's really interesting to hear that feedback. It's really admirable, and it really, I suppose, like, because that, I mean, I'm thinking, like, what I'm trying to hear our audience, you know, as we talk about this, and you know, I can feel women saying things like, oh, well, you know, she's braver than me, or she's this, that, and, you know, she's this, that, and more of me. But I think ultimately we all have that ability to do these sort of things, but it's just how we think, how our thoughts marinate around the ideas. Because a lot of people want to do things like this with camels.
And one question that comes about, and you don't actually have to answer in any detail whatsoever, but a lot of our clients, I think, would say, look, I'd love to do that, but how do I support myself during that time? You know, financially, might have other commitments or whatever. How was it for you?
Yeah, that's a good question, because obviously the big cost is the flights and the visa. But when you travel like this, it costs really, really little. Yeah, I had to buy the camel, but I also got a lot of offers for the camel. I could have sold him back for the same price, and which I actually did with my donkey in Jordan. I traveled for 6 weeks on $100, because I bought a donkey and I sold it for the same price. The donkey was for free. I sleep in my tent. I forage and hunt and fish for food. You don't need much. Water is for free. You really need very little money to have amazing adventures.
Right. So you actually said a key there, that you foraged for your food.
Yep.
In Mongolia?
Yeah, no, in Mongolia, hardly anything is growing. Unfortunately, you can't forage. You can fish a little bit. Yeah, we had some fish, but
what
that was it.
What time of the year were you there doing your expedition?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, I did my expedition June, July, August, September, October. Because the summers in Mongolia are really, really short. In June, when I arrived, it was still freezing. It was 0 degrees. And I woke up the first time in snow in August 20th. I looked outside and there was snow everywhere. And this was not even high. So the summers are really short.
Yeah.
If you want to do anything, I'd say July, August are the nicest times.
Yeah.
Did you have a start point and an end point, or did you kind of do a full circle?
I ended up doing a full circle. I didn't really have a preference of where to go. I just led myself by stories people told me on where to go. what I heard from other people, where is nice, and also where are the nomads or where are they not.
Yes.
And when Linnea left me, I had 6 more weeks to go, and I decided that I wanted to bring my animals back to the family where I bought them from, because I didn't find any other family that was so gentle to animals and took so good care of them, and I knew they would be in good hands. So I decided to go back there. So I ended up doing a loop, and this is the family where we are going.
Yay!
Oh, terrific.
That's so nice. We get to go back, and you get to go back as well.
Yeah.
For those that are listening that don't know what we're talking about, that we are planning a trip to Mongolia, and Tamar is the person who is going to be
hosting or co-hosting.
Co-hosting, yes, I suppose. I mean, you know, you've got some really intimate contacts there in a very nomadic village, far away from the city, which is really beautiful. And it's just going to be a beautiful event with, you know, you're very experienced and you obviously have a bond with the locals, and that's what we want. We want to get out of the cities and go and be one of the locals, I suppose you could say.
Yeah, well, we'll do that for sure. Yeah, from the 6 months I spent in Mongolia, this is the most beautiful family I met, the most real nomad lifestyle, very, very far away from any sort of civilization. And really just good people living with their herds of animals, sheep, goats, yaks, horses, camels, in their yurts, their felt tents in the most, I think, the most beautiful part on the planet. The Altai Mountains is gorgeous, and they're also amazing people to each other, to their animals. I'd be proud to take you there.
Yeah, terrific.
We can't wait.
Yeah.
Gosh, it's going to be so good.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you have any more questions about the expedition?
Well, I do. I mean, like a million of them. Okay, so when you start off with your camels, because my whole thing is about the camels. Okay, you know, I'm really onto it, and about how the connection of the people have that connection with the animal, and you know, how it's life changing, and it is life changing. You know, especially when you're doing something like what you've done. So can you sort of go into a little bit of detail about how you initially, from an internal point of view, how you felt about, okay, here's this camel, you see this camel for the first time, all that sort of thing, and then, you know, what were your emotions, your feelings, etc., and then as you progressed, you know, from week 1, week 2, month 1, month 2, whatever, how did your emotions change, and what type of emotions you had?
Yeah, great question. Thanks for asking that. When I first met Sinbad, that's his name, I asked him to marry me straight away. And we still have a very happy marriage. I burned a candle for him in church yesterday. Yeah, he's become a part of me. I felt like a mother for the first time. All the time I'm thinking, did he eat enough? Did he drink enough? Is he not too tired? If he looks grumpy, maybe we should rest for a day. We should stay here. At some point, I wanted to keep going with the camels. I wanted to walk to India. I wanted to walk home with my camel. But I thought, you know, winter is coming and they need to eat and get fat and furry to survive the winter. So I need to let them go. And that's the things that you deal with as a mother. You want things for your own and you want things for your baby. And it was great to see them grow up. You know, at the first day, my camel was really scared of the horse. Every time I came close, he would freak out. In the beginning, he wouldn't step over the smallest little streams of water. And later we went through wild, flashing glacial rivers up to their ears. And he would just trust me and follow me. And I loved that I could, at some point, let them be free and just eat, forage, whatever they want. So we were with 2 camels in the beginning, and the one camel really liked the purple flowers, and the other was really fond of another sort of bush. So they all have their personalities. If we go up a mountain, then the one camel had to be in front and the other behind, because otherwise it doesn't work. You really get to know them, their personalities. My camel was big. I had to stand on my toes to scratch him behind the ear, but then this big dinosaur head would come down. He would lay it on my lap to get scratches, and you just can't believe those sort of things. Very, very special to connect to an animal. And still, I think about him every day. I can't believe I had to leave him behind. Shit.
Yeah, sounds like, I mean, this is the point that I'm trying to get to. Is like the person you were beforehand to the person you are now, because of your interaction with your camel. How has it changed for you? How have you changed, because of that interaction?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think being in this caring and leading position, I've become maybe more patient, and you're always thinking of the other person as well. It's so different from dealing with a person, with a human being, because an animal you can never blame if he does something crazy or refuses. You cannot be mad at the animal. He's just an animal. So it's probably I asked him the wrong question, or I pushed the boundaries too far, or whatnot. People with dogs have probably experienced this as well. Yeah, I don't know. It opened my horizon.
Yes.
Okay.
It sounds like you were deeply touched by the camels.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Always a place in
Yeah,
your
for
heart.
sure.
Is this your first time dealing with large animals, or had you had some experience?
No, this was the first time in Mongolia. So this trip was in the summer of 2017. And ever since, I've been trying to get in touch with animals as much as possible. So I went back last year to do more trips with my horses and camels there. And I took other people there as well, my friends who experienced this. I went to the reindeer people to deal with reindeer. And I'm going to do a big trip there later this year to ride my own reindeer through the Siberian forests.
Oh my God.
And now this last 6 weeks, I walked 600 kilometers through Jordan with a donkey. So yeah, God, I've got the fever in the bug with animals.
That's awesome.
They really do change your life. Like they're just, they're amazing like that. I love that.
This is awesome. Okay, so let's look at what we're going to do. This is where I get, like, oh, how exciting. So let's do it.
Yeah.
You ask if I know what we're doing, but you can ask the questions.
Okay. So we're going to Mongolia.
Yep.
We're inviting people to join us. We're going to be, now you correct me on this, okay, because Tara, like, she gets these ideas and then she tells me something. Her brain works at about...
a lot faster than his.
Oh, it does. Like, it's like one of these super bullet trains, and it just goes, poof, and I'm still, back in the steam engine. Stoke it up with a bit of wood. So we go to Mongolia. We're inviting people to come with us. To train, to buy first of all, Bactrian camels in Mongolia, and then train them using camel connection training. And then we're going for a hike. Yeah,
sounds great.
Okay, we're going for an expedition. In the steppes of Mongolia.
No, it's not the steppes.
It's not the steppes. How
do you say Altai?
Altai Mountains. Yeah, it's a bit different. Yeah. So the steppes of Mongolia, where you've been, and the Gobi Desert is really, really dry terrain. And the Altai Mountains, it's a bit higher. Most of the valley floors are already at 2,000 meters, but really green and beautiful. It's more water, lots more. Yeah.
I think we may have seen that greenery when we flew to Mongolia. We're like, what is all that green stuff? We thought Mongolia was really dry. So the first time I had actually heard of the Altai, which I feel really kind of stupid about, was when you mentioned it. And so I Googled it. I'm like, oh my God, it really does exist. And I just because when you think of Mongolia, you think of the Gobi and you think of the steppes. And you don't think, I don't know. So like you're saying that this is an incredibly remote place.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we're going to be staying with this family.
Is it the same family?
Same family, the family that you've made connection with. That's awesome. And we're going to be training the camels there.
Yeah.
Okay, and then going on this expedition. How far is the expedition?
Do you know that details, Tamar?
what did I tell you again? What
we
did I say? 90 kilometers, I think?
90
I
kilometers.
don't remember what I said.
Over a number of, I should imagine. Yes.
Yeah, so we can, yeah. Some people will do it overnight. No, we'll take our time because it's a beautiful area to explore, and we can have a backup vehicle or the camels, my preference. Let the camels carry our camping gear and whatnot, and just
Right.
also maybe meet people on the way, and we see some of the beautiful scenery there. Because what's interesting is that we're going in September 2019. And half September, there's the tiny little Eagle Festival. So when you Google Eagle Festival, everybody will see the Eagle Festival in Olgi, sort of the bigger city there. Mm-hmm. But we're going to a different one in Saksayssum. It's a small one where only local people come, local eagle hunters. And they do their tricks. You see the eagles flying and hunting. But they also do camel races. They do camel races in the most beautiful costumes and outfits, very colorful, and they do some silly things where the man is riding the camel and the woman is hitting him with a with a stick or something. There's some crazy stuff there, and there's no fences, there's no gates, it's all just open. You jump out of the way when a camel is trying to come through. And that would be beautiful, very unique to experience. And I think it's awesome if we can stay first with this family, train the camels, and then walk to this festival and end our trip there.
Fantastic. And then everyone will be donating their camels.
Yeah.
Back to the family.
Yeah.
And are they going to be using the camels in their family business, or do you know what's happening with them?
Yeah. Yeah, so they move house a few times a year, so they use the camels for that. And they use it sometimes to just get stuff from the markets and whatnot. And this family now, I've been helping them with getting into the tourism business a little bit.
Yep.
It's always a tricky thing. I don't want to change their culture by bringing tourists. And well, it's a long conversation we can have, but I think I see now in this area, many of the eagle hunters are exchanging their horses for motorbikes, or changing their eagles for guns. They're changing their gears for houses. And I think by bringing people that are still interested in this skills and ways of living, that they might be able to keep it up a little bit more, fly their eagle a few more times a year. Things like that. So I'm trying to find a balance here, what's wrong and what's right, but we'll see when we get there. You give me your opinion as well.
Like looking at the culture, having the culture is the value, if you like, and maintaining the culture, but through tourism and keeping it alive.
Yeah, I think it can be a really good.
And that's
exchange.
Where the camels are coming too, because they're very much a part of their life. So really,
and I've been trying to show them how I trained my camel with halters, and then later when I took the groups, I also took a vet, and we've been talking to them on how to improve things to make it a little bit more animal friendly. Mm-hmm. What are the options? What are other ways of handling animals?
Right.
And I would love to have your professional help there on the floor to work with these people, because they're very interested in our ways of doing things, and we can learn from each other, I think.
And isn't that interesting in itself that I think like it's almost like the more remote you go in any country, the more interested they are in the more open they are. They're open to receive visitors, they're open to receive new information and things like that. But going back to your point about not ruining their culture per se, it's such an important point, because they, like, to us, when we go over there, we're like, this is such a beautiful way to live, you know? And so you'd almost want to do it like in an authentic way, like we are, where we're going to live with them. We're not asking for 5-star hotels. We're going to live with this family for a week or whatever, which is super, super special, and they love it and we love it, because we learn, and there's lots of laughs and all that sort of stuff.
I think the important part is the sharing of cultures, and creates greater understanding, of peoples around the world. I mean, let's face it, we live on a very small speck of dust in the universe altogether.
Yep.
And we've got to get along.
Mm.
And so by having an understanding of that interaction, especially something like this where it is very personal. I mean, you know, we're going to be training animals, we'll be gifting, you know, but they'll be sharing as well. And there's a two-way street happening. That, you know, there's a beautiful opportunity for that understanding, greater understanding and acceptance and friendship.
Yeah, friendship.
Yep.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's so important. It always blows my mind that there's so many people on this planet living completely different lives from us. And yeah, the more you understand of each other, the more you accept, the more you can exchange. And I'm really into learning these skills because they're really smart. I think they do a few things much smarter than we do.
Yeah, and the more you realise too just how similar we are, all of us.
Yep.
And we all want for our kids, for ourselves, you know. It's a great way of doing it. Great way. This is exciting.
Yeah.
I
Good.
I have a question about because you've travelled with by foot for 4 months in the Altais of Mongolia. So what sort of scenery can we expect to see when we do our short walk with the camels?
Yeah, we'll follow the rivers. That's the main thing. And along the rivers, obviously, it's green. And outside of the rivers, it's more steppe-like, rocky. And yeah, you know, in a desert, a rocky desert, it has so many colors. It's really, really beautiful. So Altai Mountains means golden mountains.
Okay.
You see purple and pink and green and blue, and then there's the bushes, and then there's trees sometimes, and there's grass, of course. We want to find enough food for our animals.
Yep.
Yeah, you see all sorts of things. And the beautiful thing is that the views are so wide, like your Australian outback. You can see forever. And then sometimes you see a white dot on the horizon, a gear of some family, and you go in and have a cup of salty milk tea, or you help them milk the goats or whatnot. Yeah.
That was going to be my next question, because I love that feeling out in the desert where you could be walking for hours and hours and hours, and there's just, you don't see anything, like you don't see any civil structures, civilization or anything like that. And then you see something in the distance and you're like, oh, that looks a little bit interesting. Let's go explore that. So I guess the people we will bring along will experience quite extreme remoteness, but then this, I don't know, it's like your whole mind changes, like the psychology and it's like your mind gets more open. Because I find when I'm in the city, for instance, is I can't think properly because there's so much going on around me. But when I'm out in the wilderness, because of the open space, there's less less energies flowing in different directions, and I just find the clarity and just that feel, like almost that kind of really cozy feeling you get inside, and you're like, oh, this feels awesome.
Yeah, good. Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I think absolutely. So agree. There's too much distraction and noise here. I can't think straight. And you have this in nature with a wild river that's very loud, or things like that. Heavy wind, you think like, oh, I can't think anymore. Let it stop. But when you're out there with the camels in the mountains on a good day, you feel, we all have this voice in our head or in our mind or in our heart, whatever. And you only can hear this voice in those sort of moments, and your intuition really comes out. And, feel comfortable. It's warm. It's welcoming. It's not something to be scared about. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
So really, I mean, like a journey like this, I'm just trying to analyse, what sort of person would actually come onto a journey like this. Not analyse, but sort of categorise, I suppose would be the best word.
Yeah, well, it's not for everybody.
It's not for everyone. Okay, I think I can safely establish it's certainly not for the person that would like caviar and champagne every night. Okay, I think I could safely say that.
No 5-star, maybe
5
1 million stars, but not 5.
Okay, but obviously someone that's can accept things as they happen, and it's not necessarily on any itinerary or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously have a goal in mind and want to work as part of a team.
When you travel international, nothing happens as planned on our journeys.
Well, no.
I mean, we have the structure, the foundation, and we achieve our goals. But you know, like,
you have to take into consideration all the other factors like culture and you know, any celebrations, or you know, I mean, like going to, you know, this Eagle Festival, for example. I mean, you know, what's going to happen there, and you know, what time will lunch be? Who knows? Who cares? You know, it will happen, and all this sort of thing. So I think it's very flexible.
You know, one family will invite you to a gur, and then the next family will invite you to meet Uncle Bob down the road. And
yeah, that's how it goes.
Yeah.
But that's what
and I think for me the most important thing, if you take people, you need them to be very, very respectful that we're in their home and we're in their
absolutely
their culture. They're Muslim people. Most of the people in this area, 90% is Muslim, so that's also different to the rest of Mongolia. But they're very, very liberal. They won't expect anything from us, really. We just be who we are. But they have rules in the gear. You step in with your right foot, and you walk clockwise, and you take things handed to you with your right hand, supported by your left elbow. And there's all these rules in the culture, but
cool.
Maybe rules is not the right word, because they don't care if you do it or not, but they'll appreciate if we try.
Culture. Yeah. Excellent. That's good. So flexible. Okay. So I just really get
likes animals.
Likes animals.
Loves animals.
Obviously, is interested in learning about training a camel, or having camels in their life, or something about camels.
And or experiencing backstring camels for the first time.
Maybe, yeah. Okay. Is a good hiker. Good walker.
Definitely can walk.
Yeah. And is willing to smile even when their feet are sore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even if it's a fake one, yes, we're having a great time. I think it's definitely so when you travel international, I mean, not only are you dealing with things like jet lag and all sorts of weird and wonderful things, but you're in a completely different environment. And I remember when I first started traveling internationally, and I was quite surprised on how well I adjusted to that. I thought I was going to have a bit of a meltdown just adjusting to different cultures and the jet lag and blah, blah, blah. As it occurs, I don't actually suffer from jet lag as bad as what I thought I would. But personally, what I love and what I encourage everybody else to think about is, you know, if you deeply love adventure, and in that word adventure, there is uncertainty. There is, you know, it can be messy, you know, like, you know, I just think of many circuits like where, okay, we thought we were going to do this, and then something else has come up, and like, oh, well, we're going to do that first, then put that to the side. Like, it's messy, but it's a beautiful messy.
It's a flow. Yeah.
It's a beautiful messy.
It's flowing to how it's meant to be, not what you think it should be.
Well, I think, and that's just a lesson for life. You can't force things to happen. You just let it happen. And they've been our best trips when things have just flowed and happened. Lots of laughs and lots of, you know, we've got to the objectives and the goals, which is always train camels. I mean, seriously, if we're going to give our secret away, we can get camels trained in 2 days, you know, but we give ourselves that time to get involved with the culture and invite new experiences in and whatever else comes up.
Yeah. I think you probably talked to Miriam about this as well. You need to step into those open doors when they present themselves to you.
I love that.
Yeah.
Oh my God. If our listeners who have not heard our interview with Miriam Lance would go back and listen to that, because she talks about this beautiful analogy where she only steps through open doors, and it just makes sense. It's like, why force things all the time? Just And
Yeah.
for her, it's creative magic in her life. For you, it sounds like it's creative magic. And for us in civilization, not so much. But we always want to force doors open, you know? So
yeah, that's right. Yeah, so when I left 4.5 years ago, I didn't know where I was going, how long I was going to be away, what was going to happen. There was no plan at all. I skipped that word from my dictionary.
yes.
And it's brought me the most beautiful things ever, because doors open everywhere all the time. People say, where are you going to sleep tonight? I say, oh, I don't really know yet. Then, you know, you get 10 invitations to amazing stuff. If you book that hotel, you can forget about it.
Yes. That's amazing. I think that's a good point to make too, is that if anyone's listening to this, then that could be a good indicator for them to definitely take a look at this trip. Because, you know, if you, it's an open door. It's an open invitation to people to join us, and we'd really love that. So
so the time of year that we'll be going and up in those mountains, what sort of weather can we expect?
Yeah, well, we're going start of September, and we're in the high mountains. And we all know about mountains, you can expect anything.
yes.
It can be beautiful sunny weather, but we can have bad days as well. We can have some snow, maybe even. I'm not expecting it yet, but it's possible. So yeah, definitely pack for winter conditions. But I'm expecting sunny days. So Mongolia is the land of the clear blue skies. It has 260 very sunny days a year. In Netherlands, where I'm from, it's only 40 a year. It's nothing. So it's also a great country to work with solar panels and things like that. Yeah, I'm hoping for good weather, but prepare for everything.
Prepare for everything.
Yeah, it's all right.
Yeah, always be prepared.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Oh, this has been so good. Well, I mean, there's so much we could talk about, but I love that you shared your Mongolia expedition with us, and anybody that comes along on our planned trip in September gets to know you better, which is really cool, because I'm looking forward to meeting you in person.
Yeah, me too.
That's the whole thing. I mean, like, you know, a lot of our audience are actually people who are either planning their own camel expedition, or thinking about it, or thinking about doing something with camels, you know, or they're already doing something with camels, or they just have an interest in camels. And but those, so you see the pyramid happening here, and so there is a small percentage of people that are on track for doing something like an expedition. But then again, you've got that within that triangle, you've got a percentage of people that wanting to do it, but don't want the responsibility of having the animal for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
And this is absolutely perfect. You know, they get to bond with the Bactrian camel, get to train and learn the training method. And then, you know, they have that expedition experience. And, you know, it's perfect. Just perfect. This is, and
you can also see it as a training after you've come with us. You know exactly what to do if you want to do it on your own.
Yeah.
If you want to do it on your own, there's a beauty in doing it together too. Yeah.
Well, that's right. And, you know, like we've got clients, one recently just contacted us, and he did what he wanted to do. He actually went out into the desert with some camels and his own camels. He trained them using a training method, and then had the expedition course. We offer an expedition course in our system. And he went out and did his expedition for himself. Out near Lake Eyre. I don't know if you know Lake Eyre in Australia.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, and now he's actually packing up. He's moving house. He's moving to somewhere, a secret location, can't tell you. But he's setting up for a tourism business. So he's actually changed along the way and doing it. And that's what happens, I think. Yeah,
I love hearing those stories. There's always a few people that take that next step and actually follow that dream.
Totally.
Yeah, I think that's where we can wedge the gap there, where there is that very small 1% of people that will go out on their own and do their own expedition, like yourself and like us, and, you know, a few other people out there as well. But then trips like this to Mongolia, we're kind of bridging that gap where you have to be committed to work in a team, to be flexible, to expect the unexpected, and, you know, respect cultures, but without all of that I have to do this alone thing. I mean, that's the best part of
Yeah.
working in a team.
It's an adventure for everyone.
Yeah.
It's an adventure for us as well.
Yeah, exactly. No, and I loved my trip alone, and there's something really special in doing it by yourself. But I mostly did it alone because I didn't find anybody else that wanted to join. It would be great to get a team together of like-minded people. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this.
And when we're out there, right, and we're trekking away, you can tell us all about your donkey trek.
Yeah.
That sounds awesome.
All you have to do is go to a Facebook profile, and almost I would say 90% of your photos were of was it Ursula?
Yeah, Ustra. Yeah.
Like 90% of her photos was donkey.
Yeah. I was so in love with her that I only take pictures of her and not of Jordan.
She's beautiful, absolutely beautiful.
Fantastic.
Great. Well, thank you so much for spending this time with us. We've just absolutely loved it, and we really can't wait to meet you in person in Mongolia, and drink
vodka.
Yep.
Do they have one to that remotely? I assume so. They probably make their own.
Yeah, somehow they'll get it there.
I was more thinking like milk.
Oh, the camel milk, yeah.
Well,
or goat milk,
yeah.
Yak milk. Do they do mare's milk there in the Alties?
Yeah, the fermented mare's milk.
Yeah.
I love it. It's really good. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks so much for spending this time and sharing this.
Thanks for coming along.
Information with us.
My pleasure.
Terrific.
Please.
Love talking to you.
Thanks so much. See you later.
Okay.
Bye.
Yeah.
Hey there, we're looking for 8 adventurous people to join us as a team in the Mongolian Altai Mountains, home of the famous eagle hunters. In September of 2019, we'll be buying, training and gifting 8 Bactrian camels to a local nomadic family, and we're inviting you to be part of this unique experience. When we travel international, we like to get a taste of what it's really like to live like the locals. For our trip to Mongolia this year, this means living with a nomadic family, far away from cities, sleeping in traditional Mongolian gurs, learning local customs, bonding and sharing our cultures. Our 2019 Mongolian Camel Journey is for the open-hearted and minded individuals who are willing to be flexible and to expect the unexpected. We'll be spending 5 days training at 8 Bactrian camels using our Camel Connection trust-based camel training in preparation for our camel trek to a local camel and eagle festival, and of course their new home with a nomadic family. We're looking for adventurous camel lovers, people willing to work in a team and be flexible, and of course willing to have the time of their lives. Trips like this will open your heart and mind and leave lasting impressions which you just cannot find anywhere else. To find out more about our 2019 Mongolian Camel Journey and to apply before applications close, visit camelconnection.com/Mongolia.